Another episode of the Crypto Gaming Institute podcast. My name is Ben Gothard, your host, and today we have two of the most awesome gentlemen from the Reality Gaming Group, Mr. Jake Scott, Mr. Rob Clarke. Gentlemen, how y'all doing today?
Very well. How are
Very
you?
good.
Nice. Thanks for having us.
Oh, thanks so much for coming on the show. I know y'all are doing some cool things over at RGG, and excited to really dive in there. So let's hop in. Let's jam this episode with value. I want to get a little bit of your backstories. How did you guys get to the point where you're now? What's your story? How did you get to the point where you're now where you are? And really highlighting like the crypto, the gaming side of it, because this is the Crypto Gaming Institute podcast.
Yeah, I'm glad. Well, I'll first do a quick intro myself. I'll let Rob do an intro, and then I'll take you through the history of Reality Gaming Group from the early days of the ICOs, which is now probably a cursed word in crypto land almost. It has to be IDO, or it has to be anything else from ICO. Hello, I'm Jake Scott. I've been addicted to crypto. That's the easiest way to explain it, since about 2013. So very much quite early on. And I've seen crypto develop in so many different ways. I've been on kind of crypto Twitter since 2013, and yeah, it's been very, very exciting to see it kind of finally go mainstream in the past few years. And NFTs in particular, and gaming around that has been an absolute joy for me, because I'm a massive gamer. I always wanted to work in the gaming industry, but I couldn't because of lack of qualifications and skill. But because of the opportunities, I don't want to say skill, actually, I put myself down there. Qualifications is the right one. Because crypto managed to give me the opportunity to get into the games industry through NFTs. So yeah, that's me. So I'm head of community at the minute, but I also do wear a lot of different hats as you do in startups. And so I do a few different roles involving the NFTs.
Right
okay,
on.
And I'm Rob. I work doing the head of marketing stuff for Reality. I'm actually completely separate from Jake. I came into this the other way round from traditional games. So I've been working with Reality for a lot less time than Jake has, coming in about 6-8 months ago now, I think it is. And I came in from publishing in traditional video games. I worked for Electronic Arts for a while, and I've worked for sort of some startups here in London, working in the game space. But I found the sort of crypto side of it. I think when I got the call about the company, I was already holding various coins at the time, and it was just like this perfect marriage of stuff to happen. And I think one of the reasons I got into games was how much the whole industry was doing something new at the time, right? And it felt like the newest, most refreshing industry to work for. And now that's sort of been usurped by blockchain as that sort of cutting edge place to work and to be a part of. So I'm also very glad to be in this quite rare, quite new area where blockchain and gaming has met together, especially in our company, where it's got both. It has that legacy all the way through, which I'm sure Jake can start talking about from a long time back, right?
Yeah. So again, kind of going on to where Reality Gaming Group came from, and what our kind of history is. So the company was founded in 2017. So the founders are Morton Rongard and Tony Pierce, and they came together and they had an idea or a vision for a mobile game that would be augmented reality based, and it would be AAA in terms of kind of the innovation and the design level and everything like that, but they felt that they needed some kind of extra element to it. They coincidentally bumped into a friend of mine, and he kind of educated them about Ethereum and educated them about ICOs, and also the possibility of tokenized assets, because at the time, this was early 2017, there wasn't actually an NFT. So all the tokens were ERC20 standard. You could make them unique in a sense with the metadata that you would attach to them, but they weren't, as we know them now, the 721 or beyond NFTs. So I mean, we were as early as you possibly could be, in the sense that there wasn't NFTs when the company was founded. But they knew that there was a way that these tokenized assets would be becoming like the next generation of ownership. So everyone could see, you know, on Steam, people trading CSGO skins, obviously other companies and websites usurping the rules about taking money out because of this closed system. And they thought, why don't we have skinned weapons inside this amazing augmented reality combat game that they had this plan for? And that's where the kind of dream ideas came together, and they decided we have to look into this. And that's kind of where I entered into the picture, because the aforementioned friend that so kindly educated them about Ethereum also recommended myself. So we'd been in crypto together for a few years, and he had been aware of my abilities at setting up communities. And obviously, as time's gone on, it's turned out that community building and around crypto and everything is the most crucial.
Number one.
Number one, exactly, yeah. And it's the thing that we hear now from, you know, VC level investors, that they're actually recognizing that, you know, community is so important, and actually it's the best tool you can have for your product or your brand. And you've got, you know, brands like Bored Ape that are now like headlines around the world, but they weren't anything a few years ago. And now you've got, you know, Nike coming in and doing so many different things. So yeah, it's kind of mind blowing how far it's come in that short space of time. But it all comes out about community and how solid that is. So yeah, so I'm doing a very long-winded explanation of this. I hope you were all right with that. But
long form show. That's what we're here for.
Good. So kind of going back to the 2017, they wanted to make this project, but building a mobile game with that level of augmented reality tech, and, you know, having NFTs or tokenized assets as they were being used in this game, but also being traded on a blockchain on Ethereum mainnet, that wasn't going to be something that was going to be cheap to build. So obviously, to fund doing all this, we did an ICO. So as I said, like now when you talk about ICOs, there's obviously a lot of negativity about certain ones that either didn't deliver, or they were hacked, or they were rugged, as we call them now. But we feel that we were one that delivered on what we were supposed to deliver. So our promise was, you know, we're going to sell these tokens that are raise funding by selling these tokens, Reality Clash coins, and you'd be able to use these to buy these limited edition skinned items, and then trade those, or just, you know, build whatever utility you wanted to build. So we did that over the course of the next 3 years, and you can go and you can play Reality Clash now. And it was one of the first, if not the first, I never like to stake to crucial acclaim, but it was the first, I'm going to say it anyway, the first game that Apple allowed to have NFTs inside a mobile game. Wow. So they not only were they impressed with the level of augmented reality that we had inside the game, but they were also approving of these NFTs. Obviously, things are iffy still now. They seem to be much more open to it. But yeah, at the time when we were trying to do that, they were very, very cautious about any outside app purchases being used in any way. So yeah, so we successfully did an ICO to raise the funding to build the game. So at the time we raised, I think, $3 million. And that went to obviously developing everything and developing the platform for tokenization. And then if we fast forward a few years into 2020, that was when really NFTs were right on the edge, right? They were kind of there. People knew of them because they knew of CryptoKitties in 2017. But still, like, people weren't sure about them. And we were doing conferences over those whole, you know, from 2017 onwards, where you would have the same 10 people in the room, and you would just, so it'd be like the guys from the Sandbox, Sebastian, it'd be like Robbie Young from Animoca, it would be just John Jordan, everyone. It was always the same faces that you'd see, and you'd be like, we love NFTs, and everyone was like, yeah, we do too, because we love them. But like nobody, well, a few other people were interested. But nowadays, like, you know, roll on 2021, any NFT conference just seems to be like bursting with people. So yeah, we obviously spent a few years working on getting the message out there, and we ended up landing a deal with the BBC. So we pitched to them an idea of a trading card game where the trading cards are NFTs, so it's tokenized assets, and people can trade them, they can take them out, they can do whatever they want with them. So that is what we've been building for the past year, and Rob and I have been delighted because just yesterday we managed to live stream our first proper build of the game. So that was like a super exciting moment, because not only are you trying to appease a community who's really keen on playing the game, and they are Whovians through and through, a lot of them. So the lore and everything and the events that we can do is great, but they still want to see a game, and we got to play it last night. I don't know, it was 50-50 on the winning, as in, I beat Rob once, he beat me once. I don't know how he feels about it, but yeah, it was a great battle of minds, wasn't it?
Well, it was just a great experience to, and you know how long game development can take, right? It was a great experience, and we had played these internal builds before, but this was the first time, literally yesterday, and the game was launched today for a specific set of people who we'll get into. But basically, it was the very first version of this game that we knew was going to the public after a long time of, and it's not like we've been too involved in development, Jake and I, which is a good thing for everyone in the company. But it was just really nice to be able to sit there, stream it, play it, have it feel like a proper game, and start talking less about, when is it going to happen, where's the roadmap, what's the next step, and actually start talking about actual mechanics in an actual game. Like, what's the balance going to be like? Does this feel good to play? The more interesting things to chat about with a community.
I love that.
It's a lot nicer now. If we feel like we're just going to be able to do so much more fun stuff, like we've been talking about the community, and like keeping them entertained is part of like what your job is. But yeah, when you don't have a fully out there product, it's more difficult. But yeah, we touched on there one of the topics of our founders token holders. So again, like in the kind of spirit of a DAO, we released a series of tokens. We have a series of sales going on, and these tokens give you benefits. So if you're a massive trader on our platform and you have one of these tokens, it gives you a lot of discounts, to the point where you're going to basically save so much money it would pay for itself over and over and over. So I don't know if you wanted to talk about the founders token at all, Rob?
Yeah, sure. Sorry to leave you with such a long introduction there, but Jake's been at Reality for so much longer, since the beginning of time, really the beginning of time for crypto.
Y'all are making my job really easy right now. This is great.
Sweet, good.
Sorry, Ben. We're so used to chatting to each other about this, and we've just come off this our very own live stream where it's just me and Jake having to keep up the banter, right? So please interject if you have something specific. But yeah, we have this founders token, which look, we know, I think, more than ever now, and I guess different people have gotten into this earlier than we did, and we'll work it out. But we are seeing I think I'm fairly confident to say we are seeing the end of NFTs that don't have a specific ability, right? I think that, and obviously in games we always have the utility there. So we have the staying power that I think some of the other projects that may have gone out of the gate faster or bigger, they're sort of struggling to work out now, where do we take this? Do we have to make a game? How do we make a game? We have focused on that utility from day one. I think that's just because we are historically a video games company. Even before Reality Clash and before this company was called Reality, our bosses worked in the industry on mobile games and on game platforms. So it was always an obvious move into it for us. So we have this founders token, which basically, if you own it, it's that extra utility on top of the game. It's kind of an easier entrance into what we'd call the meta of the game, right? So if the game is the more obvious utility for everyone, for anyone coming on that just wants to play, the founders token is really there to bring on the most hardcore players, sure, that's an obvious thing because it gives you, some of the features are airdrops, some of the features are free packs when we launch new packs. There's a site-wide discount. There's the ability, some of them are less financial, like there's the ability to join this specific community that, although we don't have any specific governance set up from a blockchain perspective, are like crucial to the point of helping us work out balance. This is a card game, so balance is super important, and so they are very important in like terms of features and what we put on. And no matter what we do, right, you're making an NFT game, and one of the big question marks of that is balance. And if you change those NFTs and you change those meaning of those NFTs within the game, you potentially change the value of those NFTs. So those people get a say in that section of it, right? So that's where the founders token idea sort of came from. It's
kind of like if there's a certain character that's represented by the NFT, that's this card, and it's like, let's say a level 4, and you're voting whether or not it should have 10 attack versus 9 attack. Well, that could actually translate into real world value, and somebody paid for 10 attack, they don't want 9 attack, so on and so forth.
Yeah, and like how you fix that in a game is something that we're working on now. We don't have a full solution for it yet, but you have to be able to balance your game, right? And exactly that, right? If you change attack values, if you change meaning, cards have a value based on rarity. And as the game hasn't been out, that's all it's been based on. But when cards have a value based on the utility in the game, yeah, you do want to have, it's not going to matter to the mass audience for it, right? But it is going to matter to the people that are really into the NFT and the crypto side. And Doctor Who Worlds Apart is kind of a unique game for everyone in this space because it's such a huge license that to make it work, we do have to appeal, outside of the crypto space. It's a game powered by what NFTs can do for players, but it is not we don't fundamentally advertise it or see it as just a crypto or blockchain experience.
I actually think that's going to be the key to finding success over time. Is I think right now we're finally kind of moving past the point where people are like, all right, we're launching a game, we have these NFTs, we're building our own metaverse, and it's mostly empty promises. And then if they happen to get adopted, then they're going to face the harsh reality that they're now going to have to do that thing that they promised.
Yeah.
And that's a way different story. But the people and the projects like y'all that actually have real fundamental, I don't want to say content, but it's content of gameplay and actual substance. That's the word, substance behind it. That and it's a fun game first that people want to play because it's a game first.
Yeah,
those are going to be the winners.
Exactly.
I'm really interested to hear your take on that.
I mean, exactly. Like one thing that I've always tried to get across to anyone really is that the thing that always lasted or became the focus in a bear market, when nobody is like, oh my god, like green bars every day, I wake up, I look, CoinGecko, CoinMarketCap, oh, everything's up, everything's cool, I feel happy. When those things go down, which we've started to see a little bit recently, the focus does go onto utility. And like you said, like utility with substance is more key than just utility. Like, I'm not going to name names of certain games that have done particularly well in the play to earn sphere, but are not like fun to play. You know what I mean? Like, there's some games where you have to farm to earn rather than playing for fun and also earning. In contrast, like, I'm a big personally, I'm a big fan of Gods Unchained, and so their play to earn feature that they've recently launched, I'm a big fan of that because I love playing the game and I love the combinations that all these cards have, and that, I think, oh, I've made my perfect deck, this nature deck it's unbeatable, like no one's, and then they nerf something or they balance something, or like you come up against somebody else that has a different tactic and you just get blown away. So that's why card games in particular, with Doctor Who Worlds Apart obviously being a trading card game, we just felt that like it's just a perfect match. Not only because of the depth of lore of Doctor Who, so there's so many characters, so many instances where different things are happening, so many creatures, like heroes, and then perhaps like villains, but people like each one as much as the other. So why don't you want to build a deck that has, you know, good characters or bad characters? And yeah, it just has, as you said, like substance is key for us. So we wanted to make a game that is good to play and fun. And as Rob said, you know, cards that matter to you because of their utility in this game.
But the problem with that that comes up, it is obvious when you say it, is that games cost a lot of money, a great deal of money to produce even a card game, right? And you think, okay, you don't need too much in the way of assets, but then whatever you make, you end up rebalancing the cost somewhere else, right? Okay, you don't need that many assets. It's not too heavy on hardcore like programming, other than maybe the AI for single player, but then you have to worry about balance and about how everything works together, and so your QA costs for the game sort of shift everything into that. And yes, QA is cheaper than art, but you need it on such a mass thing that it doesn't end up being much cheaper than if you were making a shooter or something, right? But the end of the day, no matter what you're making, games are one of the most expensive projects that you can make. They have this massive lead time, if you're wanting to make something of quality, right? Because you have to get the basics, the fundamentals so correct before you can even show anyone anything. And I know that we'll have people coming in and saying like, hey, you know what, like this is a year's work, because you know, if you're not in that industry and you don't understand how heavy development can be, you can easily get tricked into thinking that this is a simple thing for people. But making a good game, yeah, it's a big ask for any company, and if you've not got the experience in it before, you know, it's been difficult enough for us. Reality Clash was a difficult enough for a company that I would say definitely knows what they're doing. So you can see a lot of crypto companies, like you say, Ben, they come up because they have to say it. You have to, right? You have to have a game. You have to have a metaverse. If you don't, then whether or not your retail people are interested, maybe, but certainly the VCs aren't. The VCs just want to see those two words, right? But even at a VC level, even VCs don't understand, if they're coming from outside of the games world, they don't understand how much and how long it can take to make a game, right?
Yeah, and it's kind of ironic, right? Because like part of, you know, the part of what I see with play to earn, and a lot of people echo this, is you know, where free to play came from on mobile, and whether those games are of kind of lower quality but are cheaper to make because they're, you know, they're a model that is copied and it's free, so you don't have to worry about changing, balancing this or changing that. You're just literally putting something out and then managing. But yeah, I worry that the play to earn is going to replace free to play, and the concept of it where the game is maybe not particularly not particularly fun, is really like a big impact on it. So yeah, I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah, I think there's definitely going to be, a reckoning where the good games are going to get highlighted. People are going to play those games, and the games that are not good or that are not real are going to get absolutely crushed. And that's just kind of, you know, market Darwinism, if you will, of just what happens. And so if you're building something, you know, build it better. It's in your best interest to build it really well from the beginning and to power a really strong foundation. I kind of want to focus in on the actual foundation of any game, which I believe is a community. And it seems like you guys are just totally all on that, especially if you're used to kind of the back and forth and the banter and
yeah, we love, like there's so many parts of community, like it's difficult to kind of encapsulate how to build one successfully or how to manage them, but like really in a way, like not being afraid to get your hands dirty, and in the sense of like owning up to things that might not be your fault but with the company, but making it a relationship that you have with your community members, and just like, yeah, as I said, like having fun and just discussing stuff. Like some of the NFT discords I would join, for example, they kind of the people who are running them would just post things in announcements, the announcements channel, but they wouldn't really like get in every day and start talking and saying, how are you? And actually like taking an interest. And that core foundation is how you start the community, really. I think is building up this close relationship. A lot of people give early people OG status. You get this role, this is why you get whitelisted or whatever, get in early. And having that like feeling of being special, just a little bit more than the latecomers, is something that is really, really rewarding. And I don't think it's kind of a negative thing, because the people who have tended to get involved earlier are the most passionate. So the community that we've had over the one we've been growing for the last year, it's not huge. It's not like massive by the standards of crypto communities, but our Discord is a place where the same people are there talking, week after week after week. They've already been playing before the game was even out. They were playing the game with their cards through Discord. So like the level of how involved and committed they were has just been fantastic. And so like fostering an amazing kind of sentiment among your earliest community members, that's like crucial, because they are like the bedrock. And also your moderators, like big shout out to all our mods, if they will end up listening, of course. But like they are, again, like the backbone of your community. They're going to be people that are working alongside you, alongside your community managers or community execs. And yeah, just having those people and those personalities, they're just the most crucial thing. It sounds simplistic, because it is hard to sometimes find them, but like I'm not going to do the Kevin Costner like build it and they will come. But yeah, basically like we were so fortunate, because we've got a brand in Doctor Who which has like very passionate fans, and there's enough content out there from the TV series and enough depth of lore that we could very much build a community on that and our passion for it as well, beyond needing to have a game immediately ready for people. But as I said, like we've had people like doing card games, doing paper versions of their cards and battling, and yeah, it's just amazing when you end up getting it right. So yeah.
Oh, yeah, but getting it right, it's yeah, I think like how difficult that can be for a company is kind of for a company, right? And like I think it's if you're doing this in your bedroom, I think it's much easier, right? Because it becomes just a strength of personality thing, perhaps. But for a corporation, there's always this like fear, because like you cannot be a community manager, or you can't be a good community manager without like giving a part of your soul up to that community, right? There's no way. And I speak as someone that does not do it anymore, because I couldn't actually handle that part of it, right? I work in marketing, and I like to look at numbers, and I like to like look at projects, and I don't like to talk to people.
He is soulless. He's soulless.
I am soulless. I have nothing to give, right?
Nothing
Whereas
left.
like the really good community managers, like my good friend Jake here, like you have to give away. You cannot have that corporate persona, right? The reason that like we come on our streams or we come on places like this and we're just like, hey, yeah, okay, this is us, because people see through it in an instant, right? And crypto people see through it even faster, because it trends younger anyway. But that's a really struggle for a company for loads of reasons. Like one, and I'm not saying this is us at all, but you can see from a corporate level, you don't have these big bosses that want to give power to a community manager. And like, what is to them, what is a community manager? In the past, a pretty junior job. For most companies, it was up there with like social media manager, right? It was always several levels, even in a small company, several levels below that top right. We don't do it like that. We have a fairly flat organization anyway, but that we have a head of marketing and a head of community separately is an indication of like how important that can be. And you have that all the way up, right? Even you wouldn't have heard investors talking about community 3 years ago, 4 years ago, before, Bored Ape and the other big generative stuff came out on the strength of that. They'd never give community a time of day thing. It was just a thing that you were obviously going to do a little bit of, like you're going to do a little bit of Twitter, you're going to make a LinkedIn post. And so the focus certainly has shifted, and I think it's for the best, because the more you have those communities, the more genuine you can get. Except when you can't be genuine. Like, we can't always be genuine, Jake, because of the fact that we have licenses, right, and we have partnerships, and that's when it gets really hard for a community manager, because they have to say, they want to be that person, they want to give part of what they're doing to that community, but suddenly you get that corporate line, and you're like, okay, now I can't tell these people this, or there's an embargo, or there's a bit of information that we have to hold for X amount of days for this reason, because there's enough partnership and all that.
This is just us. Is this just us ranting about like just getting it all off our chest? It wasn't our fault. We've had to do. We've had to keep information from people.
It's never our fault. It's
No,
never our fault. But I don't think that's a rare thing, right? It's just where the intersection of real people meets the really awkward world of a corporation of any sort, right?
Yeah, and it's funny. Obviously, sorry, it's just it's funny as well. Like, it's not been just in crypto, this kind of community move, because we've obviously seen it. Like, a good example is the whole Wall Street bets, stocks, and that whole concept of like people being like apes strong together. There's been a lot of focus around apes and monkeys for the past few years, and like crypto, Wall Street bets. I don't know, running theme, but like that has been a move of, instead of big investment vehicles or VCs or people with a hell of a lot of money leading the charge on, hey, buy this stock, hey, buy that stock. It was Reddit, and it was like Wall Street bets, like community just going crazy on all this stuff. So for better or worse, like personally, I think it's for better that there's more people power. Like, there's more apps now that allow you to invest your own money. There's more liquidity through crypto if you want to take your money and get interest on it, or lend it out and do whatever you want with it. Like, we're definitely moving in a good direction, and it seems to be about more like people power, but power over their own money, power over their own digital assets, and their online persona and everything. So yeah, it's exciting.
Totally. I think one of the things that everybody who starts a business or is like responding to people through a business account, like if you've ever managed an account, you've come to this awkward place where you want to talk in the first person, but you find yourself saying we or our, because you're trying to like speak as the business in a way. I feel like, it's a weird thing. It's an odd conundrum. I don't know how to solve it.
No, I mean, like, it's funny you say that, because usually I would be the one replying on those things, but in the past few years I've had to write out guidelines, and this is where you start going into corporate mode, right? Like, you even don't see so. And I remember writing down in the community guidelines, one is post with the we, because not only does it protect you as an individual, because you don't feel like, oh, I'm to blame, and that goes back to what Rob's saying about giving a bit of your soul. Like, I've had to take on the responsibility and the burden and the guilt and shame of things that we haven't delivered on in time, when it's got nothing to do with me. It's been other parts of the kind of the machine that have just not delivered on time. But like, yeah, in the past, or when I've tended to do it, I've gone I. But then when I've started to write these guidelines for other people, I'm saying use we. So yeah, maybe I'm falling into the corporate trap now, I guess.
But because we're not protected, or say we, I mean you, Jake, are not protected from it, because at least 5 years ago it was a Twitter account, right? It was you interact with a brand on Twitter, and it's the most personal you might get is like a slash and like an initial of someone's name, so you can identify them, right? But other than that, they're the faceless customer support Twitter that just talks to you. Whereas if you go on and you try to make a crypto community on Discord, or on even in Telegram, like with just your company name, you're never going to build up any trust. And it's so much about trust because of that big retail investment, smaller amounts of money with more people, right? You have to use your name, you have to use your face, you have to be willing to stand up and be accountable, like Jake says, for things that you're not actually accountable for. all the time, and that's great when the company is doing something really good or things are going really smoothly. But the minute the the boat gets turned rocky water, you're effectively as public a figure, if not more a public figure than the CEO, than the founders, because
You have the target on your
big
back.
resource. Yeah.
Yeah, and you feel bad, like so obviously we've touched on Reality Clash and Doctor Who Worlds Apart. Those are two of the NFT projects we've done. One of the other ones is Smitey's Universe, which is kind of like my baby in a little way. Like we partnered with Herotainment, who are based out of New York. They created a kids brand called Smitey's. And these Smiteys, they're like quite lovable, unique characters. They have a TV show that's broadcast across the world, and they're on YouTube as well. They have some mobile games out, and they approached us and they wanted to get involved in NFTs because they saw collectibles and how well the market was doing. So we teamed up with them to create the Smitey's Universe, which is a collectible series with the plans to make a game. But this is where the issue came in, where we had launched this product, and you can go to the Smitey's Universe now and you can get your collectibles. You can populate a hotel. They're like beautiful characters. Each one has baked into the metadata all the abilities they need for the future games. So, all the stats that they would need for any game that you could create with them. So, you take your NFTs and go and make your game of your own with them. They're built in. You could do whatever you want with them. But we have all of this, but the game isn't in production yet, and we want it to be, but like it just isn't. We haven't got the funding for that project yet. We know what we want to build. We have all of the NFTs. We have a community there, but we can't say to our community, this is definitely happening and this is the first milestone, because we're just waiting to get over that line with funding. So when I talk to people in the community of Smitey's Universe, like I feel horribly guilty and I feel terrible when we haven't delivered a game to them yet, because I'm saying to you how we should have utility with substance, and yet at the same time we don't actually have a proper utility beyond collectibles for these. And I'm sure some people are fine with just that's it, you get a collectible, it's like a PFP, that's fine. But because I'm always kind of voicing this utility, real utility, and now I'm going to be saying utility with substance. Thanks a lot, Ben. So thanks for that little quip. I'm going to add that to it. Also, throw out interoperability. That's a lovely word to put out there, but hasn't seemed to come true. But yeah. I'd lost my train of thought a little bit there, but.
Well, no, it totally makes sense. It's like you have a new product. You're trying to get people excited about it, and you want to share the product with people because it's exciting. And these are the people that are going to want to play it and going to want to use it. And then they want more than you currently have. And you don't want to say, sorry, but at the end of the day, all you can really say is, this is what we got. This is where we are.
Yeah.
So it's
sad, but it's just like, that's all you can do, right?
Mm-hmm.
All you can do is be honest. And if you can't be honest in the moment, like just get comfortable with just saying we don't know yet, we're not sure. Very few companies are willing to do that. We, for example, like we've Doctor Who is, as we were talking about, just got to a stage now where we have a build that people can play if they are token holders, right? However, for 2 months before that, we had kind of a dry spell where we didn't have a lot coming out, and we had a few launches that didn't go as well as we wanted them to go for some of the packs of cards that you can buy. What we decided to do, rather than what we felt, was we're becoming one of those companies that were announcing an announcement, and then that announcement would then give you a little bit more information to what the next bit of the announcement would be. So we just stopped doing that, and we just said, you know what, November is going to be a less busy month. That is a known fact. We're not going to try and say stuff when we have nothing to say. And then we've launched this whole build of the game with no preparation, with no like prepared time period. We've just said, here's an email, the build's done, go play it, and that's it. Because Otherwise, it would have been like, oh, we're going to tell you what's happening in 2 weeks, and in 2 weeks' time, we're going to give you a date, and then you can play it. And now we're just saying, go and play it. Which is just a much more human approach to this, right? You don't, no one really has time to sit there and go, oh, I'm going to book in my Google Calendar for this announcement of an announcement. People just want to see action, and when you can't give it to them, it is okay to say it's coming. And when it comes, hopefully it will be of a quality that, you know, we are happy with and that you are happy with.
Totally.
Yeah, and I think it will. I mean, speaking on the Smitey's universe stuff, like the ideas of what we want to do with it is very much like the game ideas we have for it. They're all set out. Like the tokenomics for the whole project is set out. The fusion concept for this is all set out. It's just, yeah, we just need that last bit of funding and that kind of last organization bit to get us through and build it. I mean, one very, very exciting part of the Smitey's universe is that we're going to be having physical to digital collectibles. So by this I mean that we've partnered with Toykido, who brought out among others, they've done Among Us, the collectibles. So you might have seen those in local stores, and Moshi Monsters, and we've partnered with them to launch Smitey's universe physical collectibles that can then be redeemed for NFTs. So the way we see it is it will be very much a user acquisition tool in a sense, because you're getting so many new collectors out there, but you're also getting a chance to bridge the gap between people who are physical collectors but might not ever really take the step into digital, and this just kind of eases them into the experience, and it'll be hopefully very rewarding. But yeah, so next year, kind of late 2022, you should see some Smitey's Universe collectibles in your local Walmart or Target or whatever else. So yeah, and who knows what's going to come out of kind of all of that, because as I said, it is user acquisition, but it's also educating people about NFTs, and then bringing them hopefully into our platform where there'll be a whole series of games and other tokenomics for them to get real utility with substance.
Very exciting. So I wanna kind of jump back to this idea of community, and I actually, for whatever reason, have really started to hate the word authenticity, because I feel like everybody's just saying it just to say it. So let's not use that word, but let's boil down community and community building to almost like first principles. Like, what are our real building blocks here? And we've kind of touched on a little bit of them, but I want to nail this down because this is so important. Somebody actually in the CGI Discord was asking, like, well, how do you view games as, you know, from like an investment perspective? And I gave like 5 different items. Not going to recap them all, but the number one was community. If there is a passionate group of humans backing this idea, that is what I want to bet on more than anything else, like beyond anything else. So let's say we're starting off from a point where we don't really have that many people in our Discord. Maybe we have the first couple of people. Well, actually, let's take a step back. Like, how would you get those first couple of people in? And then beyond just sitting in there and like hanging out and chatting, like, what else can you do? Like, how do you actually like turn a scattered group of people into a community?
Do you want to take a bit of that, Rob, or should I take it?
Well, you start, please. You're the head of community.
I know. I don't
want to speak for you.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's probably the most difficult question, really, is like how you just start it off and have success. I mean, part of your success comes from the network that you already have access to. So, you know, you might be someone that has been on Twitter a long time, and so you have your own followers, and so you can spread the word out there. Or another way that doesn't require you to have like much clout, in a sense, is for you to just join other Discord communities and become a member of them. It sounds very time consuming, which it is, but like, that's what building a relationship and a community is. So, you know, I'm in a lot of groups with people that I trust who have just met over the years, or this person knows this person, so they've added me in, and then da 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 da. And there's so many of them, but they're the places where you would mention your product, mention your project, and they might mention it to one of their friends because you've already got this relationship with them. So it's kind of like that is like difficult because you might have to have a few years of experience to know these people to add you into things. But the first start or the first bit of advice for me would be like, you need to hit up Discord and just start talking to people, like build relationships, because you'll actually find, even though there is an abundance of NFT projects out there, for example, or NFT game projects, or just game projects, there is a lot of people looking to try and contribute to something. And if you can find someone who has some talent for design, they could be part of your team in your community to start designing assets that can be put onto social. So like, you really need to just build up even just a small network, put out maybe a competition on Twitter to get these numbers up. Like, we don't like doing in particular like social competitions where you have to join this thing, because what will tend to happen is you get lower value community members, not lower value in a derogatory sense, but just that they will probably be lowering your retention rate because they'll join, try and win the competition. If they don't win, they'll leave, and they probably leave just after they've qualified for the competition.
Easy to get, easy to lose.
Exactly. Like, yeah. And it's almost kind of, I've seen some projects do pretty intense things, like being, oh, we're going to give 1 ETH or 10 ETH to the person who invites the most people to the Discord, which is like, people then use either methods to trick the system, or they just like send out these. And I'm sure, because you're on Discord as well, the bane of my life on Discord is these scammy DMs, or the spam DMs that I get, which, if anyone's thinking like, should I use spam DMs to advertise my project? No, don't do it, please. Like, it's very frustrating for me personally, because I have to have my settings set up to take messages, because I'm managing a community, and we have multiple projects and multiple communities, but I have to sift every day through just like spam after spam after spam. I mean, I was whining about it to Rob when we were in the office today, actually, like saying, here's another spam one, here's another one, here's somebody that I'd missed talking to because I missed them because there's so much spam. So that's a don't do for community building. But
this point with like size, like, it's such an important point, isn't it? Like, what is the most important metric for a community? Like, what how do you decide what's most important? Well, like, the most obvious answer for people is the size of it, right? And I have seen countless crypto communities that have 10, 100 times the users that we have on the Doctor Who community, but they're not communities, right? Because they're simply just, they exist to grow. They are like these organisms that are fueled by botting and fueled by like this insatiable desire to be bigger, to have this pool of people, right? They're a marketing platform, but they're not an actual community of real people. And I have inversely seen communities of 100 people that are infinitely better, both to be a part of and in their actual power to do things, because they are real human communities of people. And you have to find that balance, right? It's really, because you do want to grow them. With us, like, as Jake says, we have put off doing those like big competition stuff. We are occasionally, like, we do them slowly, and we build slowly, and we filter through the people that are not going to be involved, or even worse, the people that come in and they just they lower how enjoyable the community is for everyone else, right? So, like, I guess my point I'm trying to make is, certainly don't see the overall amount as being anywhere near important as how it genuinely feels. I actually took this job with Reality in a big part because of the Discord for Doctor Who, because I went there as a potential employee of the company, and it was my benchmark, my barometer for the whole vibe of everything that Reality was doing, right? Twitter is fairly faceless as as a platform for most companies, because it has to be. Discord isn't, right? And I got onto Discord and I saw how it was set up, and I saw how many people were talking about the project in a passionate way, right? And that was a big tick for me to sort of say, okay, you know what? And I'll put my hands up to say, like, I am not the world's most knowledgeable Doctor Who fan. I enjoy watching the show, but as you can imagine with Doctor Who, there are a lot of people to whom Doctor Who is a very important part of their lives, and I can't keep up with that level of lore over thousands of episodes. But seeing those people being passionate about what they loved in a community that was responding and wasn't just, oh, get ether, get money, do this, share this, go viral. It actually made us stand out. Yeah. And of course we get that too. Like, of course, like we
after
we
a competition, it's when competition, when win, when this. So yeah. Sometimes it's hard to know when, because it's with some of these crypto things, it becomes like a meme to do it. So it's almost like I could join a project and be like, when rug or whatever, but I don't really mean it. It's just that now it's the thing to do. So yeah, it's hilarious. That again, like crypto being led by communities of we call ourselves degens or degenerates or whatever, but like it's just because everyone's so like just whatever, like just if you want to build this, if you want to like that, if you like this like ape thing or this weird artwork, or like you want to play this game, or it's very accepting. Obviously, until it's also like on a different chain. But
Well, I joined this Telegram for just this random altcoin the other day, and I tend not to get too involved in like dodgy, little known altcoins that don't even have a bridge or anything, that are just Uniswap coins or something. And I just joined this random Telegram, and I just made me laugh because a guy joined a little bit after me, and he just wrote to this whole team of people like, oh, hey guys, and they were like, yeah, what's up? He's like, you should do marketing. You need to do marketing. And there was this guy that was just labeled as like marketing guy, and he was just like, yeah, dude, we are doing marketing. Probably that's why you're here, but thanks for the tip, thanks for the expert advice. And like that must just be constant, right? And unbelievably annoying, but also quite funny.
Yeah, everyone in the crypto community is an expert at something somehow. Like it's amazing.
So let's kind of, I know we went off on a tangent. This has been
we were on community building, and the only other points, and I'd written some down to be properly serious about it all. So obviously we talked about like Discord. Discord is the most important. Like we've mentioned Telegram, but Telegram's out. It's not cool anymore. Telegram wasn't cool.
We've declared war on Telegram. Jake and I.
We haven't. Please,
not necessarily the entire company yet, but it's impossible to manage at scale. It's it has its uses. It has its place. I think if you want to go into scale and you want to be able to properly moderate, properly separate, we have channels on the Doctor Who community for different languages, and we have channels for talking about the show versus talking about the game, and even on the game we have channels about mechanics versus speculative trades. You have to be able to do all that stuff, and so far there hasn't been a better platform for that than Discord, right?
Yeah, and so Discord is the number one platform now, beyond or with the combination of kind of crypto Twitter, as we call it again. Just Twitter and Discord are the perfect match. So if you want to start building a community, that's where you start. As I said, if you're completely starting afresh, like you're listening to this and you're wondering, how do I figure out how to start my own community, or how do I just learn more? As I said, like, join as many Discords as you possibly can. Every single NFT and blockchain has a dedicated Discord, and they're all wonderfully organized. There is so many tools now with bots, with roles. So a great example of how people can feel particularly engaged in a community is having different roles. So we talked about if people are an OG, they've arrived super early, they will be slightly higher than other people or have access to private channels. So obviously with our founders token holders, they have their own channels that the public can't access. They get alpha in there, so they find out a little bit before everyone else what's happening, just because they tended to be the most dedicated and passionate and invested people from our community. So that's why they have this access. But yeah, building a Discord where you just foster a feeling of like inclusivity, but also like giving people roles if they do things. As I mentioned before, you know, even in 2015 when we were building a Zeta coin community, which is a whole different story. I'm not sure anyone would even remember Zeta coin, but you know, we were putting ourselves to work on like approaching merchants. Like we were just a community of random people, but we were approaching like pay merchants so that we could get Zeta coin accepted for services and goods and things like that. And we had people that were just like good at making memes, so they were just putting their time into making memes. And that was a community of people that were just all working together and trying to, you know, build something up. And that's what you need to build. So you need to have your moderators who are, you know, your most passionate, the most dedicated people who are going to be there to moderate the channels, but also to engage with new members of the community when you might not be there, or when community execs or whoever might not be there. And yeah, giving them the roles and the tools to actually work on your Discord, for example. So I almost feel I'm 30 years old, if anyone's wondering, but I feel pretty old when I talk to like some of our mods who are just genius young guys who know how to set up bots on Discord. So if we want to set up a timer or a countdown, they can just set a bot that will, if you ask the bot to, it'll tell people when the countdown is. Like there's roles that will get upgraded the more that you talk and the more involved you are in community. So you can even gamify your community now, where talking and being an active member levels you up, and you can give people different ranks or give them different rewards for them ranking up. So like, yeah, just have fun. That's the main thing. Like, you know, nobody wants to be part of a community where it's all rigid and everyone's like stressed or unhappy. Just like, but try and be as transparent as you can. Just have fun with it. And yeah, if you just make genuine connections with people and invite them to your server, they'll invite people they have genuine connections with. And amongst all those people, you'll find the core members of your community that you'll just build from. So yeah, I hope that's some kind of useful advice. I mean,
Totally.
there you go.
Totally.
And then give it
note,
time, you know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Rob.
I was just going to say, like, I think if you're starting out, there's a few things that can put you off and make you scared. And one of those is that you instantly compare everything you do to what's there now, right? And you don't see the struggle of what's there now had to build those communities. It's a human nature thing, but it's even a corporate thing. Like a lot of the time, we will, maybe someone in a company meeting here will say like, oh, but this other pay to earn or crypto game is doing this, or they're doing that, and it's like, okay, yeah, they are doing that, and maybe they're doing it on a scale that we're not, or maybe it's something that we're not even doing at all, and we need to catch up. But then you look into it and you're like, oh, okay, these guys have been working on this since 3 years before us, and these guys they've had this $10 million of funding come in to do this thing. So you don't compare instantly what other people have now to what you have at the beginning. And, you know, 2 people, 3 people, that is already a community. Those are quality people, and they're people that you genuinely like hanging out with. They're going to be people that other people will like hanging out with as well. But it doesn't happen overnight. The Doctor Who community was built up, you know, over the course of the last year. And even then, you know, like Jig says, we're nowhere near the biggest, nowhere near it. And that's not ever been our goal.
No.
Totally. Well, I also think a lot of what you guys are saying is test it out, give it time. And I think one of the best ways is one to get started. Like if you want to build a community, you know, community is important, then just get started. start building it, see what happens. But I also love what you were saying earlier, Jake, about go to other communities and be a part of that, because if you're in something and it's working, you're part of it, you're going to know why it's working because you're going to feel it, you're going to be in it, and then that's going to be much easier to recreate when you go to do your own. And you'll most likely, if you participate, make friends in the other community, and then you'd be like, hey, do you want to come also be friends over here in this thing? What do you think about this idea? And then you kind of have your initial 5 to 10 people, and then you're good to go, and you can just kind of keep growing from there. So I think there's been a lot of value in here. Looks like we're getting pretty close to time. So I'm super appreciative of you guys. Anything else that y'all want to kind of leave us on? Any last drops of wisdom?
Well, I mean, we've got our founders token sale coming up. So if any of your viewers are Whovians and also into NFTs, we will be having that sale on January the 11th. But obviously, you can just head to Doctor Who Worlds Apart. You find us on Google and check out the website. Have a look. Obviously, join our Discord. Come and say hello to Jake. But besides that, we are launching, which is again probably a whole other podcast of discussion, but we are launching a new token which will govern across multiple projects that we have now, because we're kind of getting to that immutable X kind of level of what we need in terms of a token utility. But no, I mean the wisdom's all been shared, I think. So that's all I've got. What about you, Rob?
Oh yeah, you've just shielded us. That's good.
Yeah, that's it. That's
everything. That's all the important stuff. No, we've community. I'm glad we talked about it, because it's something that's really been on my mind this last couple of weeks. The power of it, how we do it, what we can do better as well, how we interact as a brand, all absolutely critical things, right? And I don't think Jake and I have figured out half of those answers yet, even with a massive brand like Doctor Who, right? So yeah, I mean, we could talk about it for hours and hours, but it is definitely the most important thing to be talking about right now. Definitely.
Absolutely. Well, gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show today, sharing everything that you have, and generally being total badasses of the universe. So thank you very much.
Thank you
for inviting us.
All right. Well, thank you guys again, and to everybody watching and listening, thank you all. I will see you all on the next episode.